Oscar Piastri entered this season as McLaren's golden prospect, sitting comfortably at the top of the standings and looking every bit like a future Formula One world champion. But Formula One is never as straightforward as it seems. In the space of just 2 races, Max Verstappen has flipped the championship narrative on its head. Back-to-back wins in Monza and Baku have reignited his campaign and erased much of what appeared to be Piastri's unshakable advantage. That resurgence has not only thrust Verstappen firmly back into the title fight, but it has also exposed deep cracks within McLaren's carefully balanced team dynamic. Now McLaren faces its toughest dilemma yet. Can they keep both drivers satisfied, or will they eventually have to sacrifice one for the sake of the greater good? At the heart of this storm is Oscar Piastri himself, a driver brimming with talent but still learning the ruthless politics of Formula One. Legends of the sport have issued him a chilling warning. If he wants to win his first world championship, he must put his own interests first. That means being selfish, ruthlessly selfish. It could mean defying team orders, breaking away from McLaren's so-called papaya rules, and even challenging his own teammate Lando Norris head-on. Because in Formula One, nice guys rarely lift the trophy at the end of the year. And before we dive into why this championship battle could become one of the most explosive in recent history, make sure to hit that subscribe button. This unfolding story could shape the entire future of Formula One, and you do not want to miss a second of it. Right now, McLaren is sitting in a pressure cooker, and every single race from this point forward could determine not just the outcome of the 2025 Drivers' Championship, but the very identity of McLaren as a team. On paper, Piastri still holds the lead in the standings with a 25-point margin over his teammate Norris and a 69-point cushion to Verstappen. But the reality underneath those numbers tells a far more complicated story. Formula One is a sport driven not only by lap times, but by momentum, psychology, and razor-thin margins. At the moment, Verstappen has all 3 working in his favor. To truly understand how the pendulum swung, we need to rewind to Baku. Piastri, the championship leader who had appeared calm and untouchable, made a rare and costly mistake when he crashed out on the opening lap. Verstappen, meanwhile, pounced on the opportunity and stormed to victory, adding to his dominant win in Monza just weeks earlier. In the space of 2 Grand Prix, Verstappen reminded the paddock why he is considered the benchmark of modern Formula One. His margins of victory were telling: nearly 20 seconds in Monza and more than 14 in Baku. These were not just results, they were statements. Red Bull's latest floor upgrade and a series of smart setup refinements have transformed the RB21 into a consistent weapon, allowing Verstappen to shred McLaren's once commanding advantage. And for McLaren, Verstappen's comeback could not have come at a worse time. Internally, the team was already wrestling with its own balance of power. Earlier in the year, they introduced the so-called papaya rules, a system designed to give both drivers equal chances so long as they kept things clean on track. But recent decisions have suggested cracks in that philosophy. At Monza, Piastri was instructed to let Norris through after a pit stop blunder compromised his strategy, a moment that left many questioning whether true equality existed. Back in Hungary, strategy calls once again seemed to favor Norris. For a young driver fighting for his maiden world championship, moments like these do not just sting, they define entire careers. That is why warnings from David Coulthard and Mika Hakkinen have resonated so strongly. Both men are former McLaren drivers who know exactly how brutal championship fights can be, and their advice to Piastri has been blunt: stop playing the team game. Coulthard's unapologetic description of F1 drivers as selfish bastards cut right to the truth. No one has ever won a world championship by always obeying orders. Hakkinen, who fought epic battles against Michael Schumacher while leading McLaren in the late 90s, echoed that sentiment. His message was simple: if Piastri wants to survive this title fight, he must be ruthless. Adding more fuel to the fire, former Haas boss Gunther Steiner suggested that McLaren will eventually be forced to back one driver over the other. History backs him up. No Formula One team has ever successfully allowed 2 equal title contenders to race freely all season without consequences. Think back to the infamous Hamilton versus Rosberg rivalry at Mercedes, or even further back to the Senna and Prost era at McLaren. In both cases, the internal war nearly ripped the team apart. In Senna and Prost's case, it actually did. If McLaren drags its feet in making a decisive call, the biggest beneficiary could be Verstappen. Team principal Andrea Stella knows this. After Baku, he admitted that Verstappen's resurgence has officially re-established him as a legitimate title threat. This is not the same Red Bull that faltered midway through the season. The RB21 has now been adapted for low and medium-speed circuits, playing perfectly into Verstappen's hands. Stella also pointed to McLaren's recurring weaknesses this year, especially in execution. Pit stops have gone wrong on multiple occasions, costing the team crucial seconds at decisive moments. Reliability has also been shaky, with Norris suffering a costly retirement in Zandvoort. In a championship this tight, such mistakes are not just inconveniences, they are potential title killers. But perhaps the biggest battleground of all is not mechanical, it is psychological. Oscar Piastri may be young, lightning fast, and determined, but leading a world championship comes with pressures that numbers cannot capture. On the other side of the garage is Lando Norris, McLaren's long-term star and public face of the team. Every small error, every strategic call, and every piece of body language from the pit wall will now be scrutinized by fans and media alike. If Piastri begins to feel that the team is leaning toward Norris, how long before trust inside the garage starts to crumble? And looming over all of this is Verstappen, a driver who thrives in exactly these kinds of high-pressure environments. His 4 world championships were built not just on raw speed, but on an uncompromising mindset. Verstappen has never hesitated to put himself above the team when it mattered most. He understands the long game, but he also knows exactly when to strike. Now that Red Bull has given him a car worthy of his talent again, he is circling the championship battle like a shark sensing blood in the water. The next major test arrives in Singapore. Historically, Marina Bay has been one of Red Bull's weak points, a track where their dominance has often faltered. If Verstappen manages to win there, it would not just be another victory, it would be a symbolic triumph. It would prove that Red Bull has conquered even its most notorious weakness. On the other hand, if McLaren can hit back, they could reassert control and stall the Dutchman's charge. Either way, the psychological intensity will only rise from here. What comes next may boil down to one brutal truth. McLaren cannot afford to keep playing both sides. If they throw their full support behind Norris, they risk alienating Piastri. If they back Piastri, they risk frustrating Norris. And if they continue to back neither, Verstappen could simply walk away with the championship. For Piastri, the choice is just as stark. Does he remain the obedient teammate and risk watching his maiden title slip through his fingers? Or does he embrace the ruthless instinct that champions are made of? If he listens to the likes of Coulthard and Häkkinen, the path forward is clear. He must put his destiny above all else. But doing so could permanently fracture his relationship with McLaren. That brings us to the ultimate question. Should Oscar Piastri defy McLaren's team orders and race purely for himself? Or does sticking to the long game alongside Norris give him the best chance of surviving Verstappen's charge? What is certain is that the 2025 season has just become far more explosive. The storylines from here will not just decide who wins this year's championship. They will shape the next era of Formula One itself. Share your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think Piastri should go rogue? Or should McLaren double down on their papaya rules? Either way, hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss the latest twists and turns in what is fast becoming one of the most dramatic Formula One seasons in recent history.